Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about AMC and GME going to 50k, the naked shorts revealed, more of Citadel leaving, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. They have shorted quadrillions of unauthorized synthetic shares using tokenized securities over these 5 years, creating a MOAS that is coming bigger than anyone imagined. When AMC or GME is at $50,000 per share, hold, because after these 5 years, we're talking Berk A value of 750k per share. They did this to themselves. Now, we've already said for a long time that the floor price for everyone is entirely different. Some people will say 10k, some people say 50, some people say 100k. And we've always said it is up to you at whatever price you want to sell at. However, there are some things that everyone has come to an agreement, which is about understanding the billions, if not the quadrillions of synthetic shares that are existing out there. And that's why we believe when those billions of synthetic shares have to be covered, we can easily see AMC 100x, 1000x from where they are right now. Now, a big reason for why I'm also mentioning about this is because of what is about to happen. You can see breaking news. Genius Group expected to file a lawsuit for market manipulation by November 15th. Defendants are about to be revealed. And so one of the big things we've been focusing on is Genius Group and their lawsuit towards naked shorting. So we've seen their stance on naked shorting. We've seen how they've been gathering data as much as they can, to expose the short sellers, to expose the manipulation that ultimately brought their value down, that was suppressing their price. And now we're going to be seeing on 15th more towards this. And we've said this is something that could very likely start a whole new catalyst for the whole industry. The reason why we say this is because if we were to see Genius Group able to gather the correct data, to gather the data needed, which would then allow the regulations to take actions upon these institutions who have been naked shorting, then you can easily see how AMC and GME can replicate it. And we've said this for a while now, which is understanding the fact that Genius Group, whilst they face naked shorting, whilst they face the manipulation and suppression, it is nowhere near the same amount as AMC or GME. We've easily seen the amount of tokens that exist out there for AMC. We've seen the swaps that exist out there for AMC and GME. And so this is a very good start. So if we were to see something happen with Genius Group, we can see the same thing happening with AMC and GME. And you can obviously expect how it's going to be an even bigger thing. And so this is why we've been paying close attention to this. And we're going to be getting more details of this on the 15th, which we'll of course cover on this channel. But it's about understanding why this is important to us, why this is important to the whole industry, and how we can be taking our next step towards the naked short sellers. Now, one of the things that is obviously not mentioned, but it is being suggested, is about seeing this right now, breaking another Citadel executive depart after just 2 months. And so we have another top recruiting exec, which is out at Citadel, and she joined the hedge funds only 2 months ago. So recently, one of the news we've been covering is talking about how multiple executives, high-level executives, are leaving Citadel. And this is a fund that is obviously showing how they are, extremely profitable. It's showing very promising careers for these people. Yet we're seeing these executives choosing to leave. We're seeing an executive who joined only 2 months ago to obviously leave as well. And so the reason why I find this interesting is because of everything else that we've been talking about recently, and why that could be the reason we're seeing so many executives leaving. Now, the first thing, and this is extremely fresh, which is obviously talking about this potential lawsuit. If we are going to be looking at a lawsuit that is calling out firms, which in this case potentially be Citadel, about naked shorting, about things that's bringing down certain companies legally, then we can understand why people choose to leave. Now, this isn't confirmed, but this is obviously something that people are thinking of. There are, of course, multiple other reasons as well. When you take a look at the volatility, when we take a look at what we covered in our previous video, which is talking about how Jerome Powell has already red flagged that hedge funds have borrowed too much money and are over leveraged, and we could be looking at potential funds to be going bankrupt. And so in this case, one of the things we've seen is in the past how Citadel were one of the funds that were forced to close their over leveraged positions. And so this could also be another reason. This is what we talked about with there are multiple factors that are out there right now, which shows that these funds are not in a good position and potentially at any time they could all blow up. And so that's why we're seeing these guys taking the precautions. That's why we're seeing these guys taking the early decisions to potentially leave. Now, all of this is still not yet to, of course, be confirmed. We are only using the data that we've seen recently and coming to a understanding of ourselves. Now, if you have any other suggestions, if you think of anything other things that could be possible, feel free to obviously comment down below. But one thing is for sure is that right now the market is extremely over leveraged with a market that's extremely overvalued, and where all things is going to be exposed when we see how the market comes crumbling down, you're going to be seeing how hundreds of billions, how trillions of dollars will be wiped out as well. And amidst all of this, you can see how firms are choosing to put their money in safe haven. In this case, AMC. We can see here, Citi nearly doubles AMC positions today. Schwab adds AMC as well. Now, one of the things we've talked about, which is talking how essentially we are seeing how institutions, how industries are viewing that the theater industry is recession proof, or at least they are the least susceptible to be crashing during a recession. And so with this, we're seeing right now how companies all want to invest within the industry. Now, when you go underneath that conclusion, one of the companies that are extremely undervalued within this industry would, of course, be AMC. And it's one of the biggest reasons for why we're seeing so many institutions deciding to buy AMC. And this is what we talked about with how not only did we see short flip long into AMC, but we're seeing more and more institutions who want to accumulate as much AMC as possible. And that itself should already be the signal to understand why we talked about how AMC could easily go to the triple digit in terms of value. And this is not even including a squeeze, just because of the prospect, the projections, the potential there is for AMC and how institutions are accumulating as much as they can. Another big thing, and we talked about this earlier, for why we're seeing firms panic, you can see here, you can't convince me that UBS is not holding a detrimental GME bag from Credit Suisse. Now, one of the things we've said was how essentially Credit Suisse had toxic swaps of AMC and GME. And we've known this for a long time. The GME swaps came from our kohrs, the AMC swaps derived from Credit Suisse, and now these two has bundled together and come under UBS. And ever since then, we've seen how UBS have faced extreme struggles. We've seen how they were forced to increase their margin requirements. We're seeing how they're begging for help. And so this is how we know that AMC, that GME, is obviously being seen to have created hundreds of billions of synthetics, or in the hundreds of millions, billions, tens of billions, right? The number is something that is yet unknown, but we know it's extremely large. And this is what we talked about of where it comes from. And we talked about why that will create a MOAS that's bigger than anyone imagined, because you can understand that just even a portion, because UBS does not hold the entirety of the short positions of AMC or GME, yet that position alone is enough to damage them, is enough to force them to increase their margin requirement. So you can only imagine when all of the short positions have to be covered, why that would be extremely big. And you have to realize at Corona, they sold all AMC, Apes bought 93%. They let it run to $80 to hopes Ape would sell, Ape didn't. They 10 times their short position after the reverse split, Apes bought more. And now they're sitting on the biggest pile of shorts ever that they can't get rid of. And so it's why we've said that a MOAS would easily take us to a number that is so high that it's obviously going to take out trillions of dollars from the system because of everything they've done in the past. And there are multiple indicators. We've already shown you the OBV. I'm not going to go into this, but we've already talked about how this is showing that people have never left. We talked about the swaps that's damaging UBS and other institutions as well. We're seeing how institutions want to accumulate as much AMC as possible. We're seeing how a short seller of AMC are seeing their high-level executives leaving. We're seeing a lawsuit that's tackling the naked shorts. So this is literally all the indications that we are getting right now of why these shorts are all panicking. Now, there are so much more as well that we haven't covered in this video that we've talked about in previous video. And so you can see it isn't just one or two things that's saying AMC is about to squeeze, but it's multiple things that are showing that the market is going to come crashing down. And when they don't have the collaterals to short AMC anymore, to bring and suppress AMC down anymore, that's when I'm going to see AMC blow up and squeeze. And you guys, as always, now this is F Financial Advice, so do take a grain of salt. Make sure you do your own due diligence and research, and I'll catch you guys next time.